will come to order. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mike is on. I know where I am. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. This is the monthly Board of Directors meeting for Wildewood Springs Condominium Association. And first of all, I have confirmation of proper notice.
Notice was posted on the 11th for statutory requirement.
Thank you very much. May we have a roll call, please?
Okay. We have two board members called in sick, Pam Flanagan and Sue Downs. Ron Cornett had an emergency at the office, and so he's unable to join us. Monica Heidel? Here. Paul Atkinson? Here. John West? Here. Debbie Dial? Claire Dewhurst? Here. Jim Munson? Here. Nancy Thomas Arnold? Here. Leslie Jacobs? Here. Chris Perry? Here. Marty Kaufman? Here. John Humphrey? Here. Richard O'Dowd? Hi.
Be careful of what you say, based on our diary.
Your name is up there, and you're going to get to slide in somewhere, Dave.
All right, we do have a quorum. Ladies and gentlemen, I know I speak for the Board of Directors by wishing you all a Happy New Year. We all wish you nothing but health, prosperity for the upcoming year. I'm looking forward to another exciting year here at Wildewood Springs.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Also, then, ladies and gentlemen of the board, we did receive in your packet minutes of the last meeting in December. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the reject or amend the minutes as distributed.
I move that be accepted.
I have a motion made, and I do have a second by Nancy Thomas. John, you get this?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. All in favor signify by raising their hand. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Moving on, we have the treasurer's report.
I'll go ahead for Ron, if you let me.
I'm not going to say no in this environment.
Okay, there are financial statements out there and agendas if anybody missed them on the way in.
Good. Anybody have a copy or? Good to go?
Okay, at the end of the year, we ended up in the operating fund with $740,386.36. We ended up in the reserve account with $760,033.44. Now, what's pertinent about that is that we spent well over $1.1 million this last year by doing several projects, and to end up the year with over $700,000 it turned out to be good, because our forecast was to be slightly over $500,000. So even though we had the expenses, we were able to save money and enter the new reserve schedule for next year with about $200,000 more than we anticipated. That's the good news. For the year, we were under budget by $19,364, and that included spending over $79,000 for hurricane cleanup. Bottom line is the figures have been turned over to our auditor. The transition is made to the new budget, and all is in good shape.
Yay.
Terrific. I will add that $79,000 for you who were not at the board workshop, those of you who are familiar, we need to add $1.88 to that. I want it known publicly that John Haggerty does stand by his bets. And I did receive my cheeseburger Happy Meal with the toy. So
I lost the bet.
he's good to go. All right, John, we have accounts receivable, please.
Accounts receivable, yes. Accounts receivable at the present time is again handled in the manager's report. Again, in pretty good shape for the first of the year. We have 5 units that owe between $500,000 and $1,000. $500 and $5. So sorry.
Hey, am I glad they pay attention?
So, as I said, there are 5 owners that owe between $500 and $1,000. We've resolved 3 of them already.
Good.
So it's mainly some accounting purposes that got squared away, and one owner still is allowed to pay the old-fashioned way, so that will always show 1. Okay. Units that owe 1/4 is 98, but here again, this was only as of the 8th of January, so that figure's no problem. 2 units owe 4/4. We've talked to them. 2 of those have satisfied their debts already, and we have 2 units with legal issues. 1 is paying, and of course, 1 is the unit that filed for bankruptcy, and we can't do anything about it. Bottom line is, Unit 457 is paying on a timely basis and has reduced their amount owing by almost $2,000. And Unit 251 is declared bankruptcy, and there's nothing we can do about that. Now,
Question, Claire?
Yeah, on unit 251, it says the bankruptcy hearing was scheduled for May 9th. Oh, never mind. I'm still in last year.
yeah, it's kind of onerous to us, I think. They've scheduled the bankruptcy hearing 4 months from now. That means that we've got the 5 quarters they didn't pay before, and now we have to wait 2 more quarters before we can even touch them.
Yeah, that's.
And that doesn't seem right, but that's the way that's the schedule.
Is there nothing that we can do through the attorney in the courts?
The attorney says once they file these papers, hands off the flag. You can't call them, you can't do anything.
And you can't petition the court to move up the date?
That might be, you could ask that, I could ask that.
Because it seems to me this is not, it's not equitable for us.
Yeah, I agree.
Certainly.
Well, I'll check into it later.
Thank you.
Jim?
Sure, go ahead, Chris.
John, is this working?
Yeah.
Good, good. John, there was one issue that I was a little concerned about, and that is on the financial summary, it shows a total profit of $19,364. Does that sound right?
Well, it's not a profit, it's under budget expenses. In other words, we allocated $2,540,400, whatever it is, and we spent a little bit less than that.
Okay, but back on the balance sheet, it's showing an income of $44,000.
Well, the difference between that is, no, that's showing the loss of $44,000.
Ah, okay.
That's the difference on that particular one. And if you take the 19 and 44 and put it together, it actually comes out to what the accountant says. So, one minus means no good, and the other minus means good.
Yeah,
this is a reduction. On this page, it's a reduction. On the other page, minus means plus. If you get what I'm saying.
So for the year, we came out a little bit below break even.
Yes, and the reason is, well, not the reason, we know we would have come out very well had we not had to spend the $76,000, because that just went in as unbudgeted affairs against the operation costs. But the good news is that even at the 44, we plan to take $50,000 from the surplus to augment it to keep the fees lower. We only used 44, so we came out a little bit ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
We're here.
Monitor.
You have to pass the mic.
Just yell out my name, please.
That's okay. I have a question about the bankruptcy. If they declared that this is their primary residence in the bankruptcy and they're keeping it, they have to pay their mortgage and they have to pay all expenses that are incurred within that home. The only thing that you can call them if you're Macy's or if you're some collector. If they declare that home their primary residence, they must pay all the expenses that incur with that home.
Thank you, I understand that. The thing of it is that the declaration doesn't come until May.
But in the meantime, I guarantee you they were ordered probably by the court to keep paying.
They never paid, not a nickel.
Then
Never
you-
paid. They walked in, promised to pay, and never paid a nickel.
then, yeah, you may wanna have the attorney check with their attorney.
Well, we spent a lot of money going after these people. We even had the right to foreclose on them, and they declared bankruptcy the day before. We're on top of them on it, as best we can.
So these people are kinda,
Well, they're just playing games
yes, I was just gonna
with the
say.
mortgage and the maintenance fees.
Okay. Because I know they have to pay.
They have to repair their stairs, Lincoln.
Oh, not only that, the hurricane shutters need to be replaced.
Yes.
Difficult thing.
Jim?
Sure, Chris, go ahead.
I would encourage all of the board to use the mics, please. We're trying to
These aren't
video
working
this.
back here on this side, so we're gonna have to pass them back and forth.
Okay, we're trying to video, I think this time the IT chairman has the camera working correctly.
Is it working with you?
Yes, it is. He's got it right this time.
You have it? Yeah. Okay, let's get into, status of the roof coating project. Can everyone hear me without a mic? Yeah, okay, good.
All right, status of
Camera
roof
guy?
covering. All buildings in Pinehurst, Sherwood, Springdale, Oak, Oakview, Palm Tree Village, and Cluster O, and Lakeside Village have been completely resurfaced. Work is more than half through on Cluster P, and warranties have been received for all buildings in Pinehurst, Sherwood, Springdale, Oak, and Oakview Village. Payments to date on the project, $1,434,056.70. We were still owed close to $400,000. The project, obviously, will be hope finish it by the end of last year. It looks like it's going to run at least through March now, but that doesn't affect the amount of cost. We're slightly under budget.
Okay. Let's get into the stack pipe projects.
Stack pipe projects were, we discontinued, in one of the better order, we abated any stack pipe projects over the holidays, to give everybody a chance to do what they wanted to do, and we started again. We've now finished 86 upstairs and downstairs units. We have 154, so that's roughly 60 to go, something of that nature. And current expenses, the project is totaled $213,057.49, and we've out of reserves since the beginning of the last year. We spent $164,238. We're back on schedule. We've done 2 this week. We're in the process of doing 2 this week. We haven't counted, obviously, and we're going to try for the next at least 5 to 6 weeks to do 2 a week.
Okay.
Every one we seem to open seems to have a problem. The one we opened up last week was on our regular schedule to do, and it already had a fixer or a split.
Any questions from the board? Here we go, Irma.
Expenses remain currently at $76,000. I anticipate probably another $5,000 to $6,000, and then we can close the books on Irma. But Irma, for being the small storm that it was costly to us, for sure. And that is basically mostly was cleaning up of the tree trimming and removal. We had about $13,000 worth of roof repairs, and our men had some overtime wages to the tune of about $1,500.
John,
Yes.
what do you think the men's work saved us, dollar-wise?
That's a good question, Marty. That's a very good question, because the expense of using outside contractors, their $1,500 probably would have easily gone $6,000 to $7,000, if not more. So it was it was worth it. And they hung in there, and the best part is they know what to do, they know where things are, and and there's less damage than when they come in and just run over sprinkler heads and everything else when they do this repair. Could be a lot more than that, but minimally that.
Not only did they know, the feeling I got from our employees during that time frame was that they truly cared about where we live, right? They really cared about us and showed that. If you get outside vendors, oh yeah, we'll get it. But our guys went in there, it's like it was their second home, basically. And they wanted to make sure, and I know you know, and they know basically a lot of you folks, they want to make sure that we were satisfied and that we had our property back. And that's not just in Irma. If you notice, no matter what storm comes through, even if we get torrential rains or wind, whatever, the guys the next day are cleaning the boulevards, the stuff is off the roadways, and they're out and about taking care of our property. So that is a lot. I don't know if you could put a dollar figure on that, you know, but that goes above and beyond. Ms. Kay?
I'm 827 Oak Drive. I have a question. Behind the plaza where they have the hairdresser and the dance thing, there's that pond back there. I see a lot of trees are down from there. Are they responsible for that, or are we?
We are.
We are.
Mark, I failed to mention that what yet to be done is tree clearing at the north boundary fence, tree clearing from the lake south of the tennis courts, and obviously residing and tree planting in areas where trees were lost. And so, and repairing of the south tennis court fence. The problem we're having there is to get somebody back, but we haven't gotten the gentleman to move his trailer that's there. That trailer that kind of lives there is in the way of clearing that. So, but yes, that's to be done.
Are they still having trouble with street people going back in there? Because they can get through there really good right now.
We're not having as much problem this year as we've had in the past.
Because they really.
Well, they seem to have migrated over to Applebee's area.
Yes.
Applebee's and
There was one today.
Lakes, what is it, Lakes of Bradenton? Over there behind Walmart, alongside Walmart.
Yeah.
So that's where they're
Okay.
congregating now.
Good point on that fence.
Let's get into the status of the banking system change.
Okay, it went well, and I won't say super well because of some various misunderstandings, if you will. With any switch, there can be a few problems. We asked that the bank not mail coupon books to people who pay through automatic deduction. The bank agreed, but somehow the word didn't get to the people who mailed it. We did not pay anything extra because the bank absorbed all costs, but it resulted in several people being confused as far as, gee, am I, should I pay? I didn't pay. And then on top of that, because of the holiday and everything else that came up, although money had been transferred into our account, it hadn't gotten posted to some owners' accounts, and that caused also several calls. We seem to have all that behind us, except for one or two issues, and it's under control. So we're where we want to be right now, and getting better interest and hopefully better service. Chris.
Jim?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I paid through the website that was in the coupon book, and one of the things we want to do is caution people a little bit. That website says it's the Wildewood Springs website, and welcome to the new website, and that is not the Wildewood Springs website. That is a website that the bank has provided us for payments. And so we're going to try to correct some of the language on that site so it doesn't appear to be our site, because it's not.
Okay. Any questions on that? Yes.
Pat, 709, one of the things with the website, with BBT, previously, if you wanted to use a charge card, it was a flat fee. It was $9.95 no matter how much you charged. So if you wanted to pay 1 series or 2 or whatever you wanted to do, it was $9.95. With the new system, it's a percentage. And it's 3-point-something% of whatever you're paying.
Yeah, it's up almost $30. We're trying to get something worked out on that right now. Very limited use that some people want to do it.
They're trying to cover their fees from the credit card.
But it's,
Let's talk to Jim and see if we can.
yeah, we'll see, it's
See if we can get that down to a flat fee.
it's not they that do it, so we'll have to see what happens. It's
Yeah.
not that agency that does the collections.
Oh, it is, that's right, yeah, okay. I think-
Can we close this? We have a terrible one.
Yes,
There's those wooden doors back there. Can somebody close those?
yeah, it's really
It's really,
difficult.
it's hard to see. It's hard for us to see. Thank you so much.
Roger, while you're back here, the collection plates are
Yes,
there.
please. It's the one that says Jim's Vacation Fund? Thank you very much. Yes,
Darla Matthews, 142 Pinehurst. What is the name of the new bank?
Premier Community, it's right over here on Cortez, used to be Manatee Community. If you go as far as BB&T, you went too far.
any other questions on that? All right,
Jim,
sir.
can you walk into that bank and make your payment right
No.
in there? You cannot.
You can at the office, yeah.
You can just drop it off at
The office, we make deposits at the office. One of the eases of this thing, as it gets through, is that we have a deposit machine right on Catherine's desk. So if you give her a check, she slips it through, it's done, it's posted, it's everything.
So you sell 50 cents on postage. All right, the next item is proposed owner vote for the office expansion project. Ladies and gentlemen, at the last board meeting, the board, I believe it was unanimous, that we decided that this is the decision that you folks need to make. Okay? That being said, I had set up after the holidays, after Christmas, a conference call with our attorney, because the board felt that it'd be beneficial to you, beneficial to everyone concerned, that the attorney write an unbiased letter, cover letter, to send out to the owners. That conference call took place. I called John West, who was former chairman of the ad hoc committee, to partake in that. And I believe we had a fairly decent meeting. Yeah, there you are.
He's in the choir off.
Oh, he's in the choir. That's not a good thing. And I think we had a very productive meeting.
Yes, we did.
And we came to an agreement with the attorney that what we wanted sent out to the owners, because quite frankly, the board was split pretty much equally, depending on what day or, what time of the year it was that we met. So we figured, let you make the decision. That being said, we had him do it. I think it took us about 20 minutes to get it through his head. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, because you were in on this conversation. That the letter he wanted to write was pretty much the board saying we're in favor of it, which he said, well, he's used to, okay, as an attorney in condominiums associations. So we said, no, that's not the case. We want an unbiased letter, cover letter going out to the owners, explaining the situation, let the owners make a decision, up or down, yes or no vote, do we want to move on with the project? Okay? What happened after that, in our packets we got a cover letter. And I was just discussing this with John just before, and in the cover letter, that it comes, the attorney wrote it, or his staff wrote it, and it says, the agenda and proxy for the March 12, 2018 annual meeting includes a vote to approve the renovation expansion. Well, speaking to John before that, that's not the case. The verbiage should be, and we're going to get it corrected, that the agenda and proxy for the March 12, 2018 annual meeting includes a vote of the members of the owners to approve or disapprove the renovation and expansion. Are we correct on that, John? I mean, it took us 20 minutes, I think, out of 20 minutes, $120 at that point, to get it, and it still didn't come back. John and I, we discussed this. John, I know what it is simple. It's a staff member has a computer in front of them, they go in there and add the verbiage that we want, and it'll go out to the owners. Did I miss anything?
No, but be sure and go through the timeline that goes on from now.
Yeah.
That's important.
What's gonna happen prior to the annual meeting, by statute, the letter's gonna go out, the cover letter's gonna go out, the proxy's gonna go out also, to make sure that you understand what you're voting for, okay? After that's done, or against, okay? Thank you. After that is done, another vote is gonna have to be taken. Because we found out that your board has no authority to make expenditures of such funding without your approval. So just be prepared. There's going to be 2 votes coming to you, and we're hoping to get this resolved one way or another. John, go ahead.
There will only be 2 votes if the first vote is affirmative.
Exactly. The first vote is for the affirmative. The second vote is going to be to approve the expenditures of how we're going to do it. Where we're going to get the funding from, it's going to come. We don't know at this point, and we agreed at that. We honestly don't know. Huh?
That's why the collection.
That's why we have the collection. I swear, John. Yes, Nancy. Hold on. Nancy, go
I just have
ahead.
a question. I think this is erroneous, repaying the loan through the annual budget.
That's another thing.
I,
That's another thing. We mentioned about the annual budget, can we set up a separate budget? The answer to that is absolutely not.
Well, we should just remove those words.
What's gonna happen, the funding is gonna come in, if it's approved, it's gonna come in to the association. All right, whether it's gonna be a line of credit, flat out loan, or an assessment right away. The funding is gonna come into your operational budget with a complete and separate line item that we'll choose, that the finance committee will choose to hand over to the budget committee. Because right now, we're at, what is it, 8,000 or 9,000 on the line items on our operational budget?
Yes.
So what's gonna happen is, if you approve this, the funding that comes in is gonna go into the operational budget. That money is gonna be set up on a separate line item, say, a line item 10,000. And anything that is to do potentially with the expansion will come out of that operational budget under that specific line item. I know it's confusing. We wanted to keep it simple, and by keeping a separate budget, and we were informed, to my surprise, John's surprise, John Haggerty's surprise, that we cannot do 3 different budgets. You have an operational budget, you have a reserve budget. That is the Florida statute, that's the law. We don't have the power or authority to change that.
So then the sentence should end with, and repaying the loan, and take out through the annual budget. Correct?
Right, well, if you want to say,
Well,
yeah.
Wobbeck wanted that annual.
Wanted
budget
it
in
there.
So it would be to affirm the fact that we can't do a 3rd budget, that's why he wanted that in there.
as part of, maybe ought to be, yeah.
We can actually take it out.
I
I don't
thought
know
you
if
just
we
said
will.
we couldn't do it through the
Couldn't
annual.
they put in as a
No.
line item? in
It
the
has to
annual?
go through the annual budget. We cannot set up a separate budget. Go ahead, Leslie.
But I don't think we should say repaying a loan, we don't have a loan.
We don't, at this particular point in time, we don't know if
Right,
it's gonna be a
so I
loan
think
or
it
line of
has-
credit or an assessment.
I think it should be stopped at borrowing it up to the $600,000, period.
We can do
Because
that.
it's all to be determined, we don't know yet.
We don't know, it's TBD. TBD.
How about repaying the funds instead of
Right,
loan?
exactly. Well,
Jim,
repaying,
we don't know.
no, it may not be repaying.
Hold on,
Only
John.
gonna come from a loan or credit or a special assessment?
A special assessment would not be a loan.
Or about, how about repaying the cost of the project?
Leave it out.
Okay.
Well, but I think people would want to know how it's going to be funded.
Absolutely.
So can't we put it would be funded by the Association borrowing or a special assessment? Should be noted in there, it could be a special assessment.
There should be.
That was the whole thing, to keep it vanilla.
Yeah, that was,
It might
that's,
be vanilla, but I don't think borrowing is vanilla.
how's this? How's this? After the word maintenance facility, the amount is capped no more than $600,000 at a repayment schedule yet to be determined. That doesn't work either. Okay, and John, go ahead.
You know, we're going through the same problems that we've had on the board and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
When we start, or you start a remodeling program in your house, the first thing you do is, what do you want to do? Then you decide whether you're going to do it, and then you decide how you're going to pay it. Now, we have gone so far to say what we want to do. We have some plans on how we want to do it, but we haven't gotten to the point of exactly how it's going to be paid for. Now, we have come to some kind of an agreement that we're going to be using a line of credit. It's like a credit card. We're not going to get a loan of $600,000 and pull it into our budget and pull from it. Why should we pay for it until we use it? But we're getting ahead of ourselves in the process, and that's why we have to decide, do you as owners want to do this? Because when we go to the next step, there are additional costs, and that's all it's about. But it gets so confusing when we keep leaping over some of these small incidental things as we go through. Whether or not it's on our budget or not budget, it will be on our budget, but as a payment to a credit card, just like we're paying if we took out our plastic and paid for lunch or dinner. We get a bill at the end of the month. We repay that, or we repay a percentage of it, whatever's decided. But you see, I've leaped ahead. That's going to be a part of the Finance Committee, and that's why each and every one of these steps will be taken care of, discussed, and we'll come up with an exact decision. Right now, we don't know line of credit or what it's going to be. I hope, does that explain and feel a little better?
Yeah, I think it sounds to me like you're getting into what often happens is you start questioning all those things. You haven't even decided whether we're gonna do it.
exactly.
So we're
Exactly.
taking up all this time. So I think we just need to be clear
All right.
that we're gonna get the opportunity to vote whether or not it proceeds.
Claire, you got the floor.
And I think the most important part is that, do we go further or don't we? Because really, we're spending a lot of time where we can't go any further until we find that out. Okay, Jim, back to you.
Thanks. Now you can hold over there. Claire.
John,
Hold on. We'll get to you. Claire.
I disagree basically with what you're saying, because it's going to be paid back one of two ways. We're either getting a loan, or we're going to have a special assessment. And I think that people should know, we're either going to get a loan, or it's going to be a special assessment. How can we vote on whether or not to repay something if we don't even know what the devil we're doing?
How do you define special assessment?
You're going to get a bill for $2,000 that you have to pay. I just call that, I just leave that one. I don't know how much.
No, but there will not be one bill to somebody for that amount of money.
That's what a special assessment is.
Exactly, and that's why it's not a special assessment.
How do you know it's not going to be done by a
Because
special assessment?
the committee has not made a decision how they're going to do it. So don't
So
be
it could be a loan, or it could be a special assessment.
And you in essence can vote whether or not that's going to happen, because you're on the finance committee.
But I think that you have to let people know it's going to be one way or the other.
But Claire, you're walking one step further than we are.
Then you can't ask people to vote on
Whether
how.
they want it or not?
No. The second vote was going to be on how it was going to be repaid,
And is that not the second vote?
Yes.
So how do they know what they're repaying?
But you're not there yet, Claire.
We haven't gotten there.
We only have to do the first vote first, then you can go into all the rest of the process.
So you don't think you should let people know that it's going to be either by a loan or a special assessment?
We haven't gotten to that point yet. We don't know.
Why
We
do you
don't know
make
if
that
it's gonna be a loan. But right at this point, then you're putting the horse before the cart before the horse. So, just a second, John, I'm trying to get this as clear as I can. What we're asking the owners to do, vote yes or no, up and down, do you want this to take place? If they say yes, then we have to get together as a finance committee, has to get together now for the folks' information that they brought up, all the offices of the association, including the manager. Then we get together, all right, the owners want to do this. This is what we got. We got to go up to $500,000 or $600,000. Now, how do we want to get there? As a committee. Now, as that finance committee meets, then we present that to the owners. Okay? Then the owners say, yes, you have the authority to go ahead and do it. But right now, if the owners say no, then what we do is take all these papers and everything we got, throw it in the garbage, toss it away, and done with it. And done with the issue, finally. But in order to get there, we have to get the owners' yes or no vote, do you want to go ahead with the project? Miss Jane.
No, it doesn't even make sense, Jim.
Otherwise, we're spending money on the
Hold on, I can't.
It doesn't make sense to vote on something you don't know how much it's gonna cost. After the fact.
We don't, there's a second vote coming. We cannot put two issues before the owners at this particular
Well, when
point
you
in
build a
time.
house, you know how much.
By law, we cannot do it. We have to vote one out and then the second one. And that's the way it's got to be done. Yes, other associations probably have and probably did in the past. John, am I correct on that? But this one will not. We're going to do it the right and proper way to get the information out to the owners, whether you want it or not. If you say no, moot issue, done. If you say yes, and we have another step to take.
Well, then I have an issue with this sentence. It would be funded by the association borrowing up to $600,000. How can you say that if you don't know if we're going to be borrowing it or if people are going to have to pay it out of their pocket? I might be being dense here. I don't know.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
But that,
Go ahead,
I think
John.
people should be told.
John,
A point of clarification, what is the difference between an assessment to the owners or taking a loan out? How are you gonna pay for the loan? You're gonna have to assess the owners.
That's right, it's the same thing.
It's basically the same thing. It's basically the same thing. Okay, Marty.
I give up.
You, okay.
No, it's not basically the same thing.
It's assessment no matter what.
No,
It's not. If you're borrowing money, you make time payments back, like monthly payments. An assessment is where everybody receives a bill for $1, and they have X amount of time to pay back, to pay that dollar. And that's how you pay for it. It is not the same as borrowing.
Excuse me.
Leslie.
It's not.
And Jane, to your point, the Office Expansion Committee has met and has put tons of information on the project, on the website. We have actually estimated most of the costs. And the one thing we know is that people are very unhappy when they hear those two words, special assessment. But the truth is, the way we looked at it, if we have to borrow $500,000, it could cost us, let's say $600,000 total in interest. So a special assessment would be cheaper. It would be $800 instead of more every month over a period of time. So please look at or ask Chris to come over and help you with all of the information on the website. It's all there. And this letter just needs to be tweaked. Thank you.
Yes.
Jen, could you
just for my sake and maybe others that don't know exactly the wordage in that letter.
Sure, you want me to read it out? Sure, I'll read the whole thing for you. How's that?
Thank you.
Okay. Dear association members, now this will be dated in February because of the time constraints that we have to get the information out. The agenda and proxy for the March 12, 2018 annual meeting includes a vote to approve, a vote of the members to approve or disapprove the renovation and expansion of the existing office and the creation of a new maintenance facility. It would be funded by the association borrowing up to $600,000, which includes interest, and repaying the loan through the annual budget. Okay, therein I understand Claire's point. Okay, the project includes the following: renovating the present office by taking over the garage bays for meeting space, adding other multi-purpose uses to the area, squaring off the front of the building by the flagpole to relocate offices and add more rooms, adding handicap accessible bathrooms, increasing parking. Additionally, a 1,000 square foot 3-bay garage and maintenance compound will be built behind Springdale I. The maintenance compound will house all the crew's equipment, vehicles, and materials, as well as a dumpster behind the office currently under the banyan tree. Much more information about this project may be found on the association website, wildwoodsprings.com, by logging on and going to the WWS committees and then to the ad hoc /building expansion. Under Article 7.1, Bold B of the Declaration, this alteration and improvement requires the affirmative vote of 60% of the members present in person and by proxy at a membership meeting. The Association Board of Directors does not take a position on whether this improvement should be approved, but it is placing it before the membership for their decision. And Wildwood Springs Condominium Association with my signature.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, the issue that still remains is that one sentence. Okay? Claire, are you saying that removing the phrase and repaying the loan through the annual budget?
If you're going to say borrowing, you have to put in for special assessment. I'm sorry, it's not the same thing.
Okay, so what you're saying, repaying the loan through the annual
However,
budget?
it has to be.
Or special assessment?
Or by special assessment.
Or by special assessment.
Yeah, you could put yet to be decided, because that's what is the truth. It has to be decided by the budget committee, the finance committee.
It seems to me the finance committee would have to recommend to the board.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
What about language like this, Jim? Replacing the sentence that Claire's, the last sentence in the first paragraph with the project will be capped at $600,000. The board will determine the costs, how the costs are allocated to the owners.
That's better than what's there.
Simple.
You're getting closer, Chris. We're getting closer.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to, I don't think we want to talk about whether it's going to be a loan, whether it's going to be assessments. I think we want to hold those decisions till later and get this decided one way or the other.
Basically, yeah. You know, the whole concept, and I'm sure the board agrees, is that we want to put this thing to bed. We spent a lot of time on this as a board. The ad hoc committee spent 14 months. I'm sorry?
We're almost 2 years into this.
Okay, almost 2 years into this. And regardless, we want to put it to bed. And how we put it to bed is by you folks vote, okay? Dick Pickle.
Jake Pickle, 317. The only concern I have about what you just said is that if we say it's going to be capped at 600,000,
that's already been determined.
That's it. What runs through my mind is at the next decision, we decide we are not going to borrow the money. It's going to be done does that mean you're still gonna spend $600,000? Because, well, that's the implication, is you could spend $600,000, whereas if you have a loan, the actual cost of the facility would be capped at whatever reduction of interest is, which we've been told is about $100,000. So I have a little concern that ultimately, if this passes and we go to the next level, then it's going to have to be clearly defined that if it's going to be through an assessment, it's going to be capped at $500,000. Or if it goes to a loan, then it's going to get to $600,000. Because I can see this freeing up $100,000 for God knows what along the construction process. That's a serious concern.
Yeah, thank you. And we will get to that bridge.
Can I ask, while I'm talking, I'd like to ask one other question. It's relevant, but it's, the last article you said was under Article 7, the declaration, this alteration requires an affirmative vote of 60% of the members present in person and by proxy at the membership meeting. Does that mean that if only 200 people or 200 votes come in, it would be 60% of that?
Yeah.
Or, because we have to
You gotta have 51% of 558, which happens to be 280.
280.
So 168 is the low number. If you only had the bare minimum participate, then 168 people or owners would have to say yes. That's 60%.
I just wasn't sure because instead of those present, whether that was because of the form. But anyway, my other point is I'm a little concerned, and I don't see that putting the cart before the horse. I see that as an issue that 600,000 could become available, whether it's a loan or whether it's an assessment, and that's bad news, I think.
And the reason why I say putting the cart before the horse is, if we get to this point, then that point that you brought up would have to be taken into consideration by the finance committee, presented to the board, and then to the owners.
Is it possible then that if the second vote is turned down, the whole project dies again anyway?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You tell me about it. Tell me about this craziness. So, Chris, let's get back to Chris. Let me get Chris's input one more time. Your verbiage you're using.
What I suggested was that to replace the sentence that starts, it would be funded by the association borrowing. We replace that with the project will be capped at $600,000. The board will determine how the costs are allocated to the owners.
Okay. Board will determine, what was that, Chris?
The board will determine how the costs are allocated to the owners.
How the cost is allocated. Okay.
Is it is or are?
R.
Costs are. Is.
R. And the English language is R.
Yeah. They just want to quote him, that's all.
Yes. Now, that being said, I want the board to understand, if we need to vote on this. Because I'll get to you, George. I'm sorry, your name? Sorry. I want the board to understand, to approve this letter going out, it's gonna be approved with the corrections made that you decided to put on this cover letter, which is only gonna take the staff moments to do, and then it'll be sent back to us, and it's good. Then I'll sign it, and it'll go right directly into the packet. Is that the correct procedure, right?
Correct.
Okay, Dick, I'm sorry.
I like what Chris Dickens did on 328 is pretty good. I like what he said, but shouldn't there be some reference to the final approvals by another vote?
No.
No?
No, we're gonna.
I'm kind of missing the process.
The process is that this cover letter that's going out to the owners, along with the proxy, okay, is going to stipulate whether the owners want it straight up or down, yes or no.
We want it, we got that.
If the owners vote no, the issue's dead, there's no other process to go through.
If the owners vote yes,
There's another
then it
process.
goes to the committee, and they decide how we're going to pay for it.
The owners say yes.
That approval by either a loan or The special assessment, go to the vote, or the members, is it for a vote?
We were funded. Then at that time, we could also put in there, finance, if the owners say yes, the finance committee is gonna be hold their feet to the fire, because then they have to figure out where we're gonna get the money, how we're gonna get the money, how it's gonna be paid for, and then that's gotta go to the board from the committee, for the, just, let me, hear me out.
Sure, you have to pay it.
That is yet to be determined, and that, yes, I understand what you're saying. Yes, it will be put out that way, yes, it will, ma'am. You have my word on it. You have my word on it. Okay. I lost my agenda.
Flood insurance.
Flood insurance, thank you.
Okay, we've signed a contract with ZNS Engineering to provide the various flood elevation certificates for each building as required before a quote can be gotten. The cost is $4,750, and it'll be here about the first week in February.
Right.
Would you please repeat that?
Sure. We've signed a contract with ZNS Engineering to provide flood elevations, elevation certificates for each of the 40 buildings to which we're responsible for, so that a price can be assigned on possibly obtaining flood insurance. Without the certificates, you can't get a quote.
So we have to do this in order to get a quote for insurance we really don't need.
Oh, absolutely.
Or one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Which was approved a couple of meetings ago.
All right. Now, you've heard me, I was gonna say preach, but that, you heard me talk and speak on our employees in the past. I'm sure you've read my notes and little blurbs in the newsletter about our employees' Christmas fund. And what I want to tell you folks is you all deserve a big pat on the back. Because these guys and gals received a gratuity from you and us to the tune of $840 for the full-time employees and $420 for our part-time employees. Okay, I believe it was well deserved. Give it worked very well, and I thank you. I'm sure they were very great. They were shocked. They were shocked. Okay. So give me a second here. Okay. Discussion regarding of installation of patio stones at the rear exit of unit. I'm glad to see our chairman here from the landscape committee. Thank you, Peter. Glad to have you back.
What it is Thursday we're having a meeting.
Okay.
And we're going to set forth the exact size that will be allowed.
Okay.
The type of stones, not disturbing any vegetation. And what it will be comprised is outside the back entrance, maybe 4x4, not too much bigger than that. And also that will allow people to also have gates going out where it would be wet, or they can put it outside the gate.
Oh, cool.
And which is common ground, but you definitely will get from us specifics that you guys can vote on.
I believe that's what we were looking for. Exactly. You know, and I appreciate that. And, this is this Thursday?
You got it.
At 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim, I got a question.
Go ahead, ma'am. Ms. James?
I was on the agenda last month for 736 for the patios.
Uh-huh.
And it was referred back to the landscaping. Landscaping approved it. I put in a request for the pavers go 4 foot and extend to the length of the lanai because I have hurricane shutters and it's got a track and it's all dirt back there. I was trying to keep the dirt out. So there's been 5 of them put in already in Wildewood, and that was going through Woodlawn and Lakeside, and 1 cluster in Pinehurst. There's 5 of them. So why was mine turned down when it went through the committee, it went through the landscaping, they They recommended it, and then the board had some issues with it. Now, there's already been 5, and Ron Cornett had his approved outside even after the fact. So why was mine turned down? You pick and choose who you do?
I don't
So
discriminate.
I'm
Me personally,
I didn't understand why, because they recommended it. Now you make your guidelines after I've already put in my request and they've recommended it. So why isn't mine allowed?
first of all, for clarification, the committees only make recommendations to the board.
Right. But there's been 5 done already.
Right, that's come to light, the board, it brought to the board's attention last month. And we directed our manager.
So what does that mean for me? It's not gonna do me any good. And it's supposed to keep have a condo above me. So it's putting in the patio, keeps the water away from the building. It drains away from the building and not up to the building. Also, keeps the hurricane track. There's 2 reasons. The water stands in and then it comes in the lanai. But anyway, so is mine done, non and void?
Not necessarily, no. What I did is referred it back to committee, or not me, the board referred it back to committee to come back with a standard operating procedure that covers that issue. What was done in the past after doing research, I'm not responsible for the past.
I know, but I did it before you guys recommended the new procedures, recommended new guidelines.
Well, your request was sent to the landscape committee, to the board. At the time, the board, can I finish? I'm trying to explain what happened, okay? The board took a look at it, and once it starts going into common area, that creates an issue. What has happened in the past, from doing the investigating from last meeting, the last board meeting, we found out that, yes, you're right, there was more units that had done this. How they got done, they were done improperly and they did not follow procedure, even though they were claimed to. Okay, because we researched the records. Pam is not here because she's ill, but she went into the minutes of the landscape committee and found that there's a few of them that was not approved. There is one that was approved for a certain length or a certain design and went above and beyond. Is that correct, John? Okay. So we're trying to correct that and resolve that now. Contractors do not override what the board's decisions are or what policy is. They have in the past, and they will be dealt with.
Yeah, but you approved Ron's after the fact. You approved Ron's after the fact. He did on the common ground, he did the whole front of his.
I'm not aware of it.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Jane.
And the board approved it after the fact.
Where? He had a
Ron
truck there.
Cornett put rocks all in the front.
That was approved more than a year ago.
Huh?
That was approved.
No, that was not. He just did it though, because it went before.
He just covered all the weeds so you could see the stone.
It's been there.
Honest to God, no, that was approved almost a year and a half ago.
That's also the front, not the back.
The front. Now, he just did the board just approved it, not this, I haven't been going to meetings, but when I've been to meetings, never mind, go ahead, I'll just file a complaint.
Let me help you here, because the true stopping, if you will, although I was an advocate to put yours on the agenda, when the grounds committee approved it, I informed them that they had to take it as a recommendation to the board. In the past, we found through investigation that they weren't doing it. Not necessarily this landscape committee, but the prior one. Randy's group was going out and approving things. because it's common ground, the committee has to appoint, make a recommendation. Yes, they approved yours. Yes, they approved
I mean, they really
Barbara's, and they approved others here.
I was surprised they even did it, because I know the document's been from day one, I've been here from day one, that if you only go 4 feet or 4 out, the stepping stones out the back door, and I was surprised that we even had that, so that's why I recommended it, but others had done it.
John West?
I did an investigation of the minutes, and the presentation on all of them were width. Nothing is written there about width. I mean, depth, I'll say depth. 4-foot depth. Okay, 4-foot depth was approved. You go out there and it's, instead of 4 foot and 6 foot wide, or 4 foot and 8 foot wide, and the exact approval was never written down, and that's where the problem developed, and that's why it came to the board.
John West?
Jane, we did not disapprove your program. What we did is send it back to the committee. You asked for some type of protection from water and leakage and drainage and so on and so forth, and just putting blocks down does not necessarily end that problem. We said go back to the committee, have them make a recommendation that will end your water problem, and then from that we can come back and approve. 3 feet of blocks, 1 foot of blocks, I don't know, but that's what we asked the committee to come back to. But just to say putting those blocks down is going to solve the problem isn't going to do it. I think you've got another problem that can be fixed easier than just putting the blocks down. I think all you do is create more puddles. But that's why I go to my expert over there and say, is there any other way besides what you wanted to do? And that's where the board came from. Okay?
We just referred it back to committee. Ma'am, I saw you had your hand up. I'm sorry, wasn't ignoring you.
Well, I'm one of the ones, I guess, that had it approved recently, but mine is done. I wasn't getting flooded.
Who are you, ma'am? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Barbara Perry, 662 Woodlawn. The reason why mine goes the length of the line is because I have all sliding glass doors along there. And for 14 years, I've been getting a mess with splashing with sand and dirt. So this was the only solution. So you can't just deal with what's outside the doorway. You need to deal with the whole length of the line.
Peter, you got your work cut out, Peter.
I know. This is what we're gonna come back with, specific.
But please.
If we do 4x4 blocks, okay, then remediate the other parts with star.
Right. Okay, thank you. I know your work. Yes, John. John Higgins from Sherwood.
278 Sherwood. I had a similar problem with, back of my lanai, all the water coming off the roof, coming down the windows and so forth. What they did about 8 or 10 years ago is put a 3rd drain pipe in. Since that time, I have had no water coming down the windows, and if the mowers will keep their mulch down and blow it the other way, you never get any dirt on the windows.
Okay, I appreciate that. Now, that's some of the things that they're looking at the committee too. Appreciate that. All right, let's get on to new business. Annual meeting. We're gonna have one?
We're gonna have one.
Oh, I'm sorry, employee health insurance. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Yes, when the employee health insurance from Aetna renewal notice came in, they raised it 89%. 89%.
Good country.
And through hard investigation, we were found that probably was the best policy for the money. So in other words, instead of $1,570 a month for our employee insurance, it was going to be $3,100 and some odd dollars. So I contacted just about everybody we could in the group market, and nothing was coming in. But Sue Downs, board member, is involved in Blue Cross Blue Shield funding, and she got to work on it and found that by going to the individual instead of a group policy, we could cover all the employees and or their dependents who wish to carry the policies through the Blue Cross Blue Shield Obamacare policy for this year, and it ended up costing us about $1,600, or somewhat, a little bit, almost less than we did last year. It's a bridge policy to get us to next year to see what's going to happen, but everybody's covered with better coverage, less out of pocket, better drug coverage than they had last year for no increase. Better for everybody.
All right, new business, 2018 annual meeting, March 12th. Right here at the church. Hopefully, it'll be at the hall, the social hall. We don't know at this point, they're doing renovations over there. If not, I'll have my collar on at that time, and we'll have it here at 2 o'clock.
And we will pass the collection.
Absolutely. I remember that. There's items coming out. There's an intent to run for board of directors. That'll be mailing, should be coming out shortly.
Some of you may have gotten them already. It was out last, by statute, had to go out last Wednesday.
And also the issue with the building expansion will be on there. Anything else you want to put on there?
Now, other than the fact that there are going to be vacancies in each of the villages and the director at large. So there'll be 8 directors elected, one by everybody, the director at large, if in fact we have multiple filings. If there's only one filing per village and or the director at large, then of course that person is automatically elected. If you have nobody, the board has a right to appoint.
Okay. Now, don't be afraid of running, because it's an easy job, right? Oh, yeah. Piece of cake, right? You don't do anything. No, seriously, if you feel like you want to run representing your village, please feel free to do so. Yes, sir.
Roger Ryan, 663
Hi, Rod.
Woodlawn.
I knew it, I just wanted you to.
I just a couple quick questions here, and then concerning the annual meeting, and you're going to vote on this possible expansion. I don't understand what you're talking about, percentages of owners. Is that 60% of the 558 owners, or 60% of owners present plus proxies? Is that what we're talking about?
It's that plus a little bit more. It's 60% of owners and proxies at a duly quorumed meeting. So that means there has to be at least 280 people in person or in proxy before it can be valid. If only 200 come up or show, there's no vote.
Okay.
If 300 show up, then 80% of 300 is 180 have to say yes. So it's a sliding scale.
And for your information, Roger, the proxy votes have a shelf life of 90 days.
Okay.
Did I answer your question, Mark?
Yeah.
You do live in Woodlawn, you know that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know, 3 different places since we've been here for 25 years.
if lost, please return to Woodlawn. Okay, 2018 building appraisal for statutory requirement, something we gotta get done.
Yes,
It's gonna cost us.
the state requires from time to time the building appraisal to be upgraded due to the fact that we have to, and we want to, ensure full value.
Right.
The company who did the last one, the last 2, and are keeping the prices just about the same as the last one done 5 years ago, $2,495. It's IP risk. They can have it out in time for our insurance valuation.
Right, we got that coming up too. Let's get it done. Okay, item C, we have.
Your approval of that?
We need your approval?
Yes.
Yeah, we do, don't we?
Yes.
We gotta spend some money, don't you?
So we put it up.
Okay. Motion made by Monty Kaufman, seconded by everybody else. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, unit owner request for reimbursement for water damage in unit 225. We discussed,
Back to this, back to C owner, we've been on 225 Sherwood.
oh, go ahead, Paul.
That should raise a red flag to us guys here on the board and probably to the grounds committee. Following Irma, that retention pond in the vicinity of Sherwood of about 275 to 280, that overran a lot, and I mean a great lot. It meandered on down beyond Sherwood into Pinehurst. 2 or 3 days after Irma, there was now there ought to be somebody here from Pinehurst or Sherwood where you had to put sandbags along your lanai so that you wouldn't get water in. Nobody here? Right, okay.
I didn't get you sandbags when I got water.
Right. Now, guys like you should be making a comment, not just sit there today, really. Because that water comes up now, that was not a multiple storm. But that water came down there, and the only thing it prevents you from flooding in your lanai, where's your sandbag? We need, my suggestion, we put this on an agenda, Mr. Chairman, where we take a look at the drainage that goes down there. We need to do something to make that water meander on down closer to the Florida Power and Light right-of-way, so that it will meander down and finally go into the bigger lake that goes around the far end of Pinehurst. Follow me?
I'm following you.
We need to, we've talked about drainage in some of these areas recently, but it always come up, we don't have enough. The area's not big enough, nobody wants to do it, right? So maybe now we've got enough, you may want, I think it's paramount that we do something on the drainage.
Well, Paul, I don't disagree. As a matter of fact, I propose to put in a larger pump immediately behind this particular unit because it seems to be a high point where water comes. However, there is a certain amount of trapping that happens once that water gets in there, whether it's coming from the sky or from without. So you're right. You've been talking about this project a long time. We've brought engineers out. We've brought laser people out, and they can't figure out how to take it from that basin and not cause issues other places. But we feel we can take care of that alley by putting in the same type of system we just didn't put in Lakeside.
Put in
And
one
I
over there,
don't know if you
put one
noticed, Claire,
between H and I.
Lakeside wasn't there after the, right? So we gotta wait, we have a fix that we think we can do.
As long as we've got it on our, say, master plan or whatever, that's
Now,
fine.
I want to see how Lakeside worked. It worked real well. So that's on the way.
Good deal. Thank you.
To report this, the rest of this is that the board in its workshop, rightfully so, and I think it was Marty or whoever did, suggested that it go to his claim be sent to the insurance liability cost. That's why we have liability costs.
Exactly right.
And that has been done.
Okay.
We've had feedback from the insurance agent that wants us to make sure that we get a copy of Mr. Flood's flood. Prepared to do a denial and a copy of his active insurance so that can be forwarded on to our liability company.
Mr. Flood, you're here, right?
Yes.
That's been, you taking care of that?
I hadn't had a chance to talk to him.
Oh, okay.
I got your email, and I was gonna send one to you today, though. What we need is a certificate of your current insurance with the denial letter from the insurance company, so they can process it up there with our people, okay?
You clearing that? So we're working on yours, okay?
Thank you.
You're quite welcome, sir. Next item is change of the Florida registered agent, which is going to be.
Very interesting. Just today, we got on the email notice that our yearly fees and corporate registration is due. That's at which it's due before May 1st. I figured we'd hold on to it because there could be some changes in officers and or board members, and so it will satisfy it in March. But at the same time, we can change the registered agent if you so desire. My thought on the thing was that currently all traffic, legal traffic, if you will, goes to the registered agent, and the registered agent for this corporation, Wildewood Springs, is its attorney. What happens, he gets mail, he looks at it, forwards it to me, and charges $50, $200, whatever it is.
What a racket.
I suggest that the association consider making the manager, me this time, whoever else is the registered agent, and then those issues come, I bring it to the board at no cost, you decide if you want to go to an attorney or not. So that's my proposal, is to change registered agents to your property manager.
But I was just gonna say, do we have to say a name?
Oh, he can't make it.
No.
No, this time you have to, you would change it each time.
Okay.
All right.
Do we need a motion?
And I got one coming on the left-hand side here, motion from John Humphrey, duly seconded over there by Marty Kaufman, to make John Haggerty our registered agent.
I have a question.
I didn't have the discussion
Or
yet.
make the manager.
Make the
Yeah,
manager.
don't give a name.
No,
It's
you have to give a say a name, you have to register once a year, you have to.
Once a year.
They require names, they require a clip, they require clerk or vice president, they require.
Make our manager, John Haggerty, registered agent for the state of Florida. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising their hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. John, get it done. Okay, done deal.
Okay,
All right.
we'll do it, I say, after the election, we'll do everything at the same time, we got till May 1.
Yeah. Well, actually, I believe, my memory says, right, Chris had recommended a couple of years ago that after the annual meeting, we have the organizational meeting, we have a board meeting all on the same day, so we'll make it all part of that, and get added on to the board meeting's agenda at that particular point in time to get it done. It's all smooth.
Will do.
Okay, committee reports. Let's start with landscape. I see over there, Pete.
Okay. Just to reiterate what Jim and John both said, needless to say, you can tell by looking around what a great job our guys have done with the storm and general maintenance at the same time. It's unbelievable. And like I told them, the issue with the backs, we're going to address that Thursday. The only other thing we have now in the infant stages is we want to go around cluster by cluster, assess what the cluster needs for vegetation, shrubs, so forth, replace old shrubs. Get back to the cluster advisor with a list of our recommendations of what to use so they can talk to the people in the cluster, the people have some input, and we're going to then, once we've talked to them, approved it, then we go around and do that cluster. If it's a small cluster, we may do 2. Big clusters, we're going to have to do 1 at a time. But what people have to realize is when we're doing this, also, they're going to have to wait for theirs. If you see a dead shrub or something, fine, we'll pull it out, but it won't be replaced until we get to your cluster. Right now, we're doing just hithering on all over the place. So if we do 1 cluster at a time, people know what we're going to do, we get that done and move on. Eventually, we'll get them all done with what people want. And, you know, like I said, we'll remove dead shrubs, but we just won't replace them until we get there. So we're going to talk about that Thursday also and start that program. Okay?
Thank you, Peter. So that we are filling over the storm damaged areas. The plan to replant the storm damaged areas.
Also, we plan to replant the storm damaged areas where some of the big banyan trees came down, either with sod or ground covers of sort. And that's about it, John, left, right? Yeah.
I understand there's a plan to go medical marijuana over by.
I thought you were supposed to keep that quiet.
No, it's legal now. We grow it, produce an income, and build 2 building expansions.
He only wants it because he volunteered to take care of it.
Okay, Marty, on the pools, what do you got?
Okay, another board member said there's been a question about the temperature of the pools. It's still at 85, aren't they, John?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of them are really 86, but...
Most of them are really 86. Don't tell anybody because that's not allowed. We did have a problem with the chairs. There was a weld break in one of them, and somebody did I don't know if they fell, but they were not hurt. And Jackie, our precious pool guy that takes care of us, went around and pulled 18 chairs.
Wow.
And so if your pool's a bit short, the pool chairman or person that takes care of our chairs, has he been in, John?
Yes, say precious pool person many times. It gets hard to say.
It gets hard
But
to say.
we've now found a total of 20. And what happens, the chairs are right at the, here's where the seat is, here's where the back is. And then what happened is the weld at these 2 points started to crack, and this one individual just leaned back a little bit and fell over. So that had us get a study, as Marty said, and we went out, and it was very surprising to find out that there were actually 19 more of them, or 20 chairs. Now, we had our chairperson come in, got in this morning, Marty, finally.
Good.
And they can be, they're, each one of these are the older chairs that he said he sold the association 8 to 10 years ago. And it's $50 a chair to
Fix them.
weld them. Or the new chairs are $72 I don't think it makes much sense, but you know, I think we could consider that a reserve expense. And 20 chairs would be it's $76, so it's, you know, very close to that. 14, about 15, 20 versus 50 times 20, which is $1,000.
Well, I think the only sensible thing to do would be to buy new chairs.
Absolutely.
We can get them within a week if we order them this time of year.
Well, this time of year, we desperately, as soon as it warms up, we're gonna need them. Can I make a motion that we do this?
Absolutely. Marty.
Order these 20 chairs?
Motion made, duly seconded by Leslie Jacob to order 20 chairs for the pools. Discussion on the motion. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by raising their hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. John, you know what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's done. Anything else, Marty?
Well, what about the vehicle? Do we have to not approve the purchase of the vehicle?
Did we get past it?
Yes, you did.
No, no, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Get to the matters report.
I thought we were past that.
Okay, Marty, you done with the polls?
Yes.
Chris, you're up. IT.
We've got a few issues in the IT committee. We're looking at our platform, the company we've used since we started the current website. We've had a few issues with them, and we're looking at some other providers, see if we can find someone that can do it maybe for a little better and hopefully maybe a little cheaper. We also, with people coming back, we're probably going to be sending out more emails. I hope that's okay with people. If you object to too many emails, I mean, I suppose we could be judicious about that. But we found that most people appreciate hearing some things from the association, and so we'll be sending out more frequently an email to all owners. There's also a place on the website which we're going to kind of concentrate on where you can subscribe to different email areas. So if you're interested in tennis or pickleball, you can sign up to be on an email list for them. You can sign up for a bridge email list. So there's things that you can subscribe to. It's in your profile area, and it's got a thing called subscriptions above it. So we'll send out a little more information about that.
Okay, John, you got a question?
Yeah. Just yesterday, I ran across a very small organization, in my opinion, that went into apps for communication. And I'm wondering, would that be something that you might be interested in investigating? Because it seems that the conversation I've had with similar organizations, and happen to be the church, that they really got instantaneous information out, and everybody has a phone for an app, so it might be something we might want to look at.
We actually, when we discussed the aftermath of Irma, we talked about being able to text people. And the cost to do it through our present company is pretty expensive.
That would be a tax if we went to an app.
Well, that's the thing, there may be other avenues besides texting that would also provide that information to a person's phone right away. And so, yeah, we would definitely look at that.
Thank you, Chris. Leslie?
I just wanted to give a kudos to the IT committee for the excellent communication to the owners who were here or not, even not here during the hurricane. It really helped us stay in touch and learn what was going on, and it was a great gift. Thank you.
All right, let's get into the manager's report.
Yes, we've just about covered every issue with the exception of,
The vehicle.
yes, well, their pages are sticking together, just make sure.
Well, it's not from humidity, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay,
Sorry about that.
the association vehicle is probably one of the more rugged things you see driving around the community. It is rusted out, it is used up, and we ran our depreciation out 2 years ago. We replaced it 2 years ago, but we just wanted to make sure that we get every last mileage out of it. We are now at the point of needing a new radiator, among other things, and it's time. It's time. So Jim and I went shopping. The bottom line is, well, we took a look at everything out there. Our budget is $22,000. We found an excellent new vehicle, because we felt that the new vehicle would have the better warranty, 100,000 miles. It would probably last 60 years here, 100,000 miles. But I basically only own the property. But we get the 5-year, 100,000 mile warranty on the smaller, what they call the smaller truck, the Nissan. And by the time taxes and extras such as shelving and ladder racks and driver protection mesh, safety cage, it brought the price almost to $25,000. If I didn't get the guy good, Jim twisted his arm further, and we made a deal with everything: taxes, fees, license plates, ladder racks, interior shelving, and everything for $21,500.
All right.
So I'd like to board approval.
Well, and it is a budgeted item,
Anything over $5,000 over the board.
over $5,000 report.
Is it gonna get a new sign?
Now, well, that's the other thing. What's gonna happen? I'm waiting on taking delivery, based on the board's approval, take delivery of the vehicle. And I guess it would be this afternoon, we call Signs Plus, Signs Now. They're gonna have the Wildewood Springs signs on both doors, on the passenger and driver's door. Also one on the rear. Also asking the dealership for the tag, the Florida tag, to be simple by saying WWS on the tag, see if that's available to us. Okay. If anybody's in the market to buy a new car, I'm available to go negotiate along with John for a nominal fee, of course. It was, beat the heck out of it. Huh?
You're not getting another cheeseburger.
No, I don't want another
Yeah,
cheeseburger.
yeah. But he did tell me, the general manager over there did tell me that we might find a nice script paint for less than those signs. And so I'm gonna get a price on that too.
No, plus the fact that the 200,000 mile van that we got, we might be able to locate a buyer for that and send it down south of the border and be used as a vehicle to, bring people back in. No, we're pretty much going to get maybe $100, $150 for it. Okay, so motion made to buy the vehicle. Do I hear a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising their hand. All opposed, same sign. John, we got a reserve check we gotta get.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't expect it. And, oh, and by the way, we're gonna surprise our maintenance man with it, so please don't
Don't
tell
say
him.
anything to John.
Occasionally, John will talk to me.
Hold on, I'll get you. Manager's report.
I'm out.
John, you got other issues?
No, that's, we've covered everything else.
How about the letter?
Oh. Yes, I sent a letter to Ms. Horton, 624, regarding dumping of non-bag garbage.
Okay.
I've had no return yet, but it just went out.
Okay, thank you. All right, now, I'll get to you. I see your hands all up there. I'll get to you. Director's reports. Let's roll quickly down there. John, you got anything? No. Marty?
No.
Chris? Leslie?
No.
Nancy?
The garage sale.
The garage sale.
Which I think Tammy's gonna talk about. Okay.
Claire?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would like to request that when somebody is speaking on the board or anywhere else, that the rest of us please keep quiet and reserve our comments for when we're called.
Thank you very much. Good point. I appreciate that. Thank you. Debbie Dow. Pico Dow. Paul Monica Hyder.
They do sometimes not just go to the left, but sometimes swing your eyes to the right, because some of us have had our signs up. And we didn't get to make a motion or even second one the whole time.
Next month you guys switch sides with the red, okay? Okay, sure. John West, you got anything?
No, sir.
You're good to go? Now, owner's comments. Deb, you're up.
I'm curious about the rule against trucks. I'm seeing more and more trucks in the facility that seem to be living here.
Okay, for clarification, no pickup trucks or trucks.
Are we not enforcing it?
Yes, security going around tagging them. Fine.
What are they
From
doing?
11, let me finish with the policy. From 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning, no pickup trucks anywhere on the property. If it's a commercial vehicle, work vehicle, must be off the property by 7 p.m. unless they're actively partaking in an emergency. That's the policy. Okay. Well, hold on there, I'm getting to it. So, Tammy, I know you got something coming up. I forgot to catch you on the committees, that's my fault, I apologize.
Tammy Alborn, 5 Stones 4 Lakeside. With the courtyard sale, we have 11 people who have already notified me and ready to blow up balloons and have their sale and make lots of money. I do need 8 signs so that I can post where we're going to have the post pickup site.
We'll make that for you. We'll take care of that.
Okay. And then also, a rain day, if it should rain on the 3rd of February, that we have it the following Saturday. I had too much junk.
I put a little word in. Okay.
But please keep calling me and signing up. I just love every minute of it.
Cool.
It's a good place to break for no
All
reason.
right, now that young lady all the way back there, who are you? Throw your hand up viciously. Who are you?
My name's Marilyn, and I'm from 349 Springdale. I'm here just to talk about the idea that pickleball and tennis together are participating in, they're not participating, are organizing in the back in the tennis courts by the office. This morning we had 12 people show up for the very first time to play pickleball. We have 2 courts already lined, and the rackets are, there are some loaner rackets, and Wildewood has provided the tennis, or the nets and some balls for us. So even if you don't have the equipment, please come out if you're interested in playing. We're trying to put together a schedule so that people would know ahead of time that on a regular basis we're going to be out there on certain days. It's usually going to be in the mornings. At this point, if you are interested, call Catherine, I think, at this point in the office. Another member is already taking care of trying to organize the schedule, and we're probably going to post it on the bulletin board by the tennis courts so that people can see it rather than making phone calls and emails and all sorts of things in a chain around trying to get people to come out.
Terrific, thank you, dear. You having fun with it?
Yeah.
The lines, everything's fine?
It was good this morning. It was great.
All right. Yes, ma'am. I'll get to you, dear.
I have a question.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Barbara Carey, 662 Woodlawn. Generally, how long does it take to get the amendment changes into the bylaw document? I was looking on the website the other day, something that was posted, stated 2017, but there's a 2015 amendment that's still not in there. It's that version yet, so I'm not.
2015? Here, do you remember what, not in where?
In the bylaws.
Okay.
Oh, section 11.
All right.
It was, I was researching about this whole landscaping question. And
I'll look for it.
In 2015, there was a change made.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that in the version.
It wasn't distributed, okay.
So I didn't know if there's like a lag.
No, as a matter of fact, the one we
It's a
just
quick
passed
turnaround.
2 months, a month ago, has already been registered and ready for distribution. So,
I actually have it in my car, I'll show you.
yeah, okay, please.
Okay, you have the right, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Kathy, 206, you forgot to mention that you can get permits in the office for trucks to stay overnight.
Right.
For 2 nights in a row.
Good point, thank you very much, guys.
Always have trucks.
Thank you, thank you. There are, yes, the answer is good. There are exceptions to that. People move in on the weekend, or they're moving down, or sometimes there's somebody moving out, or someone's coming down to visit, and they're not aware of the rule. So we do provide for a parking permit, and the guards are well aware of that, okay?
We get a report every day with pictures, and if there's a vehicle such as a motorcycle or anything that shouldn't be there, or even a bike in a carport, they'll send us a picture, and we act on it, and we investigate it.
Well, and those truck permits are to be in the truck.
Yes, they go right in the windshield.
Back window.
Yeah, or in the dashboard of the truck, somewhere where it's visible by the driver. Okay, next meeting is going to be the board workshop. Wow, February 12th. At the office at 10 o'clock, the board meeting at the 19th of February, right here at the church at 2 p.m., whether it's here or the social hall to be determined. Just keep an eye out for that. No further business to come before the, oh, sorry. Yeah.
Talk about security. Somebody's gonna get back to them about lights. I haven't seen a sign of security since this summer. And when I used to see them all the time, and I haven't seen security vehicle since fall winter.
You haven't seen a vehicle at all, Steve? Okay. Security is on the property. They do come on the property. There was a period of time when there was an issue with the lights when they bought new vehicles. They bought the new vehicles, but the light bars didn't come in. And as a matter of fact, this is since last night, and I see it coming down from my point of view. Might be you're in that particular corner over there, you don't see it, but
When they have their lights on, you see them all the time. See the flash.
yeah, they
Really
do.
good idea.
They still do.
As a matter of fact, we had an incident over the weekend where one of the units had a very loud, disturbing party, so to speak. And I called, because I got called. Then I opened up my slider on my lanai, and I said, oh, what the heck is this going on out here? It sounded like they were right underneath my unit. And I picked up the phone and called security. They said, okay, we're on our way. 5 minutes later, they called me back and said, we just responded to that unit, but the sheriff's deputy already left. And they handled it. What that meant, I don't know exactly, but they did do it. And when they came up, I could see them coming down. They came off 34th Street and up, and they came down that way with their lights flashing. Any further business coming before the association? Ms.
Question, did the security guards, do they get lunch hour?
Security guards, well, It's a different form of security than what we used to have one person on duty. We have several passes through now, and so they have a period of time, because you may not get the same person all the time.
Okay.
There may be two people, and they may relieve
I
each
saw
other.
one of their trucks coming from where the cinema is down here. He was coming out of there and getting pulled into Wildewood.
Well, they have contracts for commercial places too.
So they're working both places at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Go.
Yeah, that's
You're
how
up,
they
buddy.
make.
Cable TV.
What about it?
We
Stinks.
haven't heard anything in the last 2 meetings.
On the what?
Cable TV. We did have the committee meet. The one from Optical Tel, we're not going with. There was too many red flags, and too many bad reviews on them, and they wanted us to sign a 10-year contract. Russ Arnold is the chair of that, Nancy's husband is chairing it, but we just, as a committee, we decided, nah, we're not giving you 10 years, plus all the bad reviews we've had. We are currently looking into Comcast, Xfinity, and Verizon Fios. And Spectrum to see if they can get us a better deal. We just got an increase from Spectrum for 9%, of which 5% was already budgeted. 4% was, Uncle Sam and the rest of the politicians got their hands in their pockets, so they want more taxes. So the taxes were 4% higher this year. So what we're doing, pretty shortly, I think it's first week in February, Russ is better than me.
Yes.
Yeah. We're looking into getting these other competitors in, getting bids from them, and then go back to Spectrum and say, hey, so-and-so wants to come in here, what are you gonna do for us? Just like we bought the car, the van, okay?
Does anybody else have, their system is really slow?
Real quick, and IT chair is here, but real quickly, what happens if you're using your Wi-Fi, and I'm just talking Wi-Fi, not your internet connection, your Wi-Fi. What happens is, at this particular point in the year, a lot of folks are coming down using their Wi-Fi devices and stuff like that around you. There are channels that the signal, Wi-Fi signal is sent from to your device. If you have a lot of folks using the Wi-Fi channel, the same Wi-Fi channel, it's going to bog down the Wi-Fi speed. What I suggest, what I have done, is call technical support at Spectrum. Tell them, take a look at all the channels that are around me, and they will. And they'll say, okay, we're going to put, you can go on to this particular other channel, which frees up a lot of speed when you do a speed test, when they do a speed test on your Wi-Fi signal. Okay? Don't confuse Wi-Fi speed with internet speed, because your internet speed is hardwired coming in, and what you're doing, you're going from your router with an Ethernet cable into your device. If you're going by Wi-Fi, like your phone or iPad or your laptop computer or something, or your smart TV, and you got it set up by Wi-Fi, it's going to take a lot of speed. Ma'am?
Also, you want to check how far your laptop or whatever it is you're using is from your router.
From your router.
Because if you've got stuff, you've got walls in between it, you could have a very weak signal because of that. That's what happened to me recently.
Yeah.
I just shifted my laptop 1 foot
And
away from a wall.
boom, automatic.
And my speed's back to normal.
And there's a way there's a device that they have, it's called a gateway. You could have them bring a gateway to your unit, and they sync that gateway up to your main router, and you'll have 2 networks. You'll have 5G, and you'll have 2.4 gigahertz, okay? Chris, do you have anything?
No, Tim's right. There's a lot of issues that can change people's speeds. The laptop you use could be have an impact. There's just lots of variables involved in internet speeds.
Go to Chris's house, he'll teach you. If there's nothing further to come before the board of board members, motion adjourned. Be safe, get home.